If you're struggling with footwork, then this is probably why. I spent ages trying to get faster on my feet because my footwork was always super clunky. I was doing like loads of ladder drills, just doing loads of shadow boxing, moving around the ring, but nothing really clicked until I understood the concept I'm going to go over in this video. If you've learned boxing properly, then you probably know how to set up your stance when you're throwing punches. Slight hinge in the hips, slight bend in the knees, okay? You're kind of in this planted position here. Now, the problem with trying to move around the ring when this is all you've learned is it's pretty hard, okay? You probably know that you need to be relaxed when you're throwing punches. The same applies in your legs when you're moving your feet. You can't be in the same position and just try and move around like this, all right? It just doesn't work. See how it looks all clunky? You need to switch from being in this planted stance when you're throwing punches to being in a much taller, mobile stance like I'm in now. So it's kind of going from this position here to this position here. What's happening when I'm doing that is I'm basically taking the muscle tension out of my legs. All right, when I'm here, there's a little bit extra muscle tension. I'm trying to minimize it, by the way, by keeping my shins like vertical, so all my joints are stacked, so there's less muscle tension. We want to be as relaxed as possible, as often as possible throughout the whole of your boxing. But when you're moving around, you want to really maximize how relaxed your legs are. So that means coming one, up into this higher stance, and two, making a couple more adjustments, which the first one is coming onto the balls of your feet slightly. Right? So whenever you're moving, you never want to be on the heels. You never want to step onto your heels like this. You want to stay on the balls of your feet. Most importantly, you want loose knees. Okay, you might have heard people say loose knees before. That basically means that your knees are able to move in sort of all directions like this freely, right? When you can do that, then you're much more agile when you're pushing off. For example, let's say I'm going this way and I want to push off this way, right? If I can keep my knees loose as I go to here, I can sort of angle my shin so that it's easier to push off. Basically, having these loose knees just makes everything much more efficient whilst I'm moving around. Everything's smoother. Okay, and then we want to go from here to here to be able to punch. Okay, it's really subtle. It's just like from here to here. All I'm really doing there is pushing the hips back slightly, like this. Don't think about bending your knees. Think about pushing your hips back and your knees will naturally bend to where they need to be. Okay, so it's just the pushing the hips back that matters, right? So that small little adjustment of being like this all the time and trying to move light on your feet when you're stuck in this planted sort of position to coming up to this taller position where your knees are nice and loose, that is going to make a lot of difference in your footwork. So when do you want to use each kind? Well, this loose knees standing taller is anytime you're out of range, whether that's trying to close range or you're trying to move out of range or move around the ring. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to close range and they're quite far away from me. I'm going to come in quite tall, and once I get there, then I'm going to plant and throw my punches, all right? Then when I'm trying to get out of range, I'm going to go back to being tall and moving around again, circling off. That's when you want to be taller. So play around with the subtle difference between here and here. Okay, and you want to try maximize how good or how efficiently you can transition between these two, depending on whether you're punching or whether you're moving. As I'm sure you know, footwork is like the biggest foundation in boxing. So once you get this switch between the two efficiently, your next step is learning a good, fast, sharp jab. And I made a pretty long video, a full guide on the jab. So it should be linked on the screen now. Go give that a watch.